So it seems like women were probably not considered in the clinical trials properly. So that concerns me because a lot of drugs that are that are basically we need that it's for unmet needs, but a lot of them are not tested on specific people. And what it does is that when they are launched, people are taking it, but it hasn't been tested on them. So it's actually not helping them, but actually deteriorating their health. So I think I would say that's another concern. I know my company and including a lot of other biopharma company are now part of health equity, where they're ensuring, that all the clinical trials will include all the populations and, different races and so forth. So I think there's a lot of work being done in that space. But yeah, I would say those are my two concerns. And climate change in general, it bothers me because I mean it's I think it's concern for everybody, but it's actually real. It's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you have to look no further than the hurricanes that have just, made their way through
Yes.
Florida. Right. And, essentially they were showing the hurricane from space and how wide it overall was, as well, that it could be seen from the International Space Station. I saw that
Oh
just
wow.
this afternoon. So just an amazing, thing to know that global warming definitely is impacting us. It's interesting too that you brought about this discussion of technology and the amount of technology that essentially is out there, but also the amount of information that's constantly flowing at
Yes.
us, right? And the ability to
Yeah.
consume, just so much information. I mean, look, I grew up in the days whenever you had to go to the library. That was the only way that you would get,
Yeah.
additional information other than whatever was in your house. You had to use encyclopedias for book reports and those kind of things. Had to know how to look through an encyclopedia in the first place to find anything. Um, yeah, it's such a new world. I look at both the benefits and and the cost, right, of just being
Yes.
impacted by so much information. How do you look at that? How do you look at that, and how do you weigh, I guess the benefit versus the current concern that you have?
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think it's also if you think from neuroscience perspective, it's like our brains have not evolved that much. So either, there should be mechanisms where we do something for our brain every day, which is, again, I think meditation is something which I like try to keep a habit of doing, because with so much information, again, it's like it's coming at a speed of light, but then our brains are still the same. You are still the same human being. And honestly, when I look back at 2020 to now, it has increased more and more and more. I remember when there was a pandemic, like there was a point where I felt information overload because everything moved to digital, and we were interacting with every single person on Zoom or these meetings. And I felt that's when I started feeling it, like I felt like I'm drowning in the sea of information. And how do I like I not get so much information and just get, to your point, that synthesized version, where you go to library, you actually enjoy that little bit piece of information you get. So again, I think that's definitely very, very concerning. And I mean, unless, there are mechanisms in place that help our brain, evolve or grow at the speed, or keep up with that technology, I think eventually it is detrimental. It's not, something human beings are made for.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it goes to another. I mean, I'm sure I could talk about this forever, but
Yes.
to me, it goes to another conversation that I recently had with somebody where I had just said, look, the whole idea of our education and the way that we were sort of brought to learn and understand things through our education was created through the idea that that essentially there's a need for workers and we need to train people so that they understand how to work in the environment that they're in. The one thing, and I'm sure I could go to a list of other things, but the
Yes.
one thing that I sort of think about frequently is, how do you best use the mind that you have and use that to your advantage, right? And train me on that, and I, at the end of the day, could leverage the world of information that's ahead of me. But if you don't train me on that, and I don't pick it up myself, then essentially we leave all of this untapped potential behind, potentially, because we're stuck in sort of this industrial way of training people or educating people today. And that I think about that as a very near future challenge, that eventually people are going to be looking around saying, hey, look, AI was supposed to make stuff simpler, and some of the new
Yes.
technologies that have were supposed to make things easier, but at the end of the day, all it did was ease this path, and at the end of the day, I still only have this one mind. and and I have to figure out
Yeah.
how am I best going to use that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like AI and future of work. So there are a lot of studies that and reports that probably you must have seen too. But like it's very clear that AI is changing future of work and how we live. Again, like how we live, it has already transformed it, but then how we work is also changing. So maybe in next 1 year, there might be a hologram of us talking to each other, rather than being here. So I mean, and it's inevitable, right? So it's like it is something that's going to happen. Either, we are the early adopters, or we like keep like, missing out the train and say we are the last one to get, will be the last one to get on the train. So it's unavoidable. So yes. So to your point, I personally like think everybody should have like a, like what do you call it, how we like restart our machines like
Mm-hmm.
computers, to
Yep.
have like that hygiene, or to make sure all the cookies are clear, like so like when we move from one location to another, one wi-fi to another, we restart our machine. So I think, I mean, this is an, because, and also this is World Mental Health Month. So we should all like kind of think of that routine in our everyday life, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes, whatever works for people. I think we can like, I urge people to like just start with 5 minutes, whether it's just sitting, deep breathing, reflecting. And, I mean, it could be, mindfulness meditation, it could be journaling. So I've also seen people trying to like empty their mind by journaling your
Sure.
thoughts, because then it creates space for new thought. So I think like how we clean our machines, how we clean our homes, there's got to be a way to like clean our brains, and then give that a break, and so it can absorb more information. Because I mean, clearly it's like impacting mental health. And again, I don't have the exact numbers, but according to some studies in general, right, like humans don't use most of their brain, so we use very little percentage of our brain. And
Yep.
we are operating through that. So again, either the mechanism of how we keep that mental hygiene, or the other mechanism of how we can tap into more of that brain capacity would be
Absolutely.
maybe future of technology.
Last question. What excites
Yes,
you?
yes. So again, from our conversation, you must have seen definitely future of technology excites me as much as it makes me scared. It excites me as well. But my true passion actually lies in traveling and being an explorer. So I love to explore new cultures, new places, actually meet people from different countries, and learn about basically like how that country works, how people are living there, etc. And again, what I've seen so far is all the humans are same wherever you go in the world. It's all the same, but it excites me, like I think that's what is something that I always look forward to. What would be my next travel? And then the other piece that I would say more than excite, amazes me and awes me is nature, which is again every like fall the trees changes their color, and then they shed off, and then there is spring, there are cherry blossom there. So I think it just amazes me, and also how beautiful nature can be. And once you are in nature, you forget about technology, you forget about all your problems. So I think I would say that's what is something that I try to make the most time for whenever I can.
Thank you for sharing that.